Maybe just as we get started, friends, we can review our remaining activities for the week. We'll be meeting for service tomorrow at 9 in the morning and then again at 1:15 in the afternoon. On Saturday, our meeting for service is at 9 o'clock. Then we have our Pioneer meeting, and that is at 12:30. And our regular Pioneers and those who are auxiliary pioneering this month are invited to it. On Sunday, we'll meet for service here at the Kingdom Hall at 9:30, and then at 1 o'clock we have our public talk. You can enjoy life in peace now and forever. Then we'll have our Watchtower study, 30 minutes, and then our concluding talk, what kind of a friend are you? And that's our special week in its activities. As was mentioned, we're speaking on the subject, places of worship enhance true faith. When's the last time you noticed how beautiful your Kingdom Hall is? You look at the lovely colors, our landscaping. Brothers did a nice job last fall right in this little section here with our new flat pavers. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. And the grass and everything looks so nice there. The fact that we are cool in the summer and warm in the winter when we're inside here is something we shouldn't take for granted. A nice sound system, so comfortable that the speakers don't have to strain to try to reach those in the back, nor do we have to strain our ears. The sound is just right there next to us, isn't it? Comfortable chairs. I remember back in the 50s, all the Kingdom Halls pretty much had the same chairs. They were made of oak, and they had a little seat. It was about that big, and it was made of slats, and it was flat. If you were around back in the 50s, you know that those seats really made quite an impression. And then we moved up. We went to the molded plastic chairs. Molded plastic. At least they had some sense of the human anatomy, those plastic chairs, and we thought they were the greatest. But then in time we got those chairs that were kind of like the ones we have now, but they had a little less cushioning in them, right? A little bit of cushioning, a little bit of fabric, looked much classier than did the molded plastic, and was a little more comfortable to sit on for a while. And now we have these with a nice big thick cushion and armrest and everything, just a little more comfortable for us. So we've had quite an evolution, haven't we, of Kingdom Hall chairs over the years. Now, did you help to build this Kingdom Hall? Did? Okay. Where did you work? Did you work on the frame? Or maybe up on the roof? Or maybe you had the privilege of working on the installation crew, the itchy job? Or maybe if you have the skills, plumbing or heating, ventilation, air conditioning, perhaps you worked with electrical. Maybe you worked on sound. That's one thing I've had the privilege of working on in the past. Or yard work. Both Pat and I have worked yard work on Kingdom Halls. Perhaps you've put up paper or helped with the painting. Maybe carpeting. And if you did help out, then no doubt every once in a while during the meeting you might look over to a section that you worked on and kind of smile to yourself and feel good. That's good. Even Jehovah at the end of each creative day, right? Looked at it and said, that's good. But then get your mind back on the meeting, right? That's important too. Now, from ancient times, Jehovah's people have congregated together for true worship. A variety of meetings have been used over the century, meeting places for Jehovah's people. For example, Israel met outside to hear the book of the law read. When they were in the wilderness, they had that tabernacle, remember, that Jehovah instructed Moses to make, and it was set up in the middle of the camp with the 12 tribes radiating in the 4 cardinal directions out. And it literally was the center of their lives. Later on, Solomon built that glorious temple in which to worship Jehovah. After the temple was destroyed, the Jews began to meet in small buildings called synagogues. And if we zoom forward now to Jesus' day, we see that Jesus taught in the temple, which was now Herod's temple, and in the synagogues. He even on one occasion arranged, remember, for a meeting on a mountainside. And then the early Christians, after the death and resurrection of Jesus, met in the temple area. And then in time, congregations were formed, and these congregations met in private homes. Now, if we zoom further ahead, back to the 1800s, we see that the early Bible students were encouraged to meet together. In fact, in the April 1881 Watchtower, Brother Russell urged readers to have regular meetings. Let me read you what he said. He said, "If you have no gathering of this sort, let me recommend you to establish one in your own home with your own family, or even a few that may be interested." So at least meet with your family. If there's some other people in the area interested, invite them over in your home, have a meeting. Now, as these groups increased in size, they began to rent various halls to meet in together. And at that time, or as time went on, a few suitable buildings were purchased. Now, these weren't like this building, which was built as a Kingdom Hall. These were built as other things. A lot of them were storefronts. And they were purchased and they were converted over to use as a Kingdom Hall. Then in 1935 in Hawaii, a new building was being built specifically to worship Jehovah in. And Brother J.F. Rutherford was visiting, and someone said to him, "Brother Rutherford, what should we call this building?" And Brother Rutherford thought for a moment, and he said, "Well, we're going to learn about the kingdom in this building, and we're going to, from it, preach the good news of the kingdom. Why don't we call it Kingdom Hall?" And that was in 1935, and the name stuck. And for now for over 70 years, we have been meeting in Kingdom Halls. But for the last 20 years, something rather remarkable has been happening, and it's something that started here in this country, in our branch, the United States, and that is the quick build arrangement. Now, when we first started, we were building these Kingdom Halls in 2 days, and we called it the two-day arrangement, 2-day Kingdom Halls. The problem with that was it was very remarkable, but frankly, when you're building, things need to set, they need to dry, they need a little bit of time. And so rather than 2-day Kingdom Halls now, as we've gained more experience, we do what we call quickly built Kingdom Halls. Now, this arrangement has gone to different parts of the world, but pretty much it has been in what we might call Western lands, lands that have the resources, financial resources, to build something like this. However, in 1997, the governing body perceived that while all of the congregations around the world were enjoying the same rich spiritual feeding program, didn't matter who you were or where you were, we're all eating at the same table, the same food. Not all of our brothers really had adequate buildings to meet in. And so they got together with brothers and considered what the options were. And in 1999, an arrangement was established to allow our brothers to have very suitable Kingdom Halls in lands with limited resources. So this video is about that, and you're going to see it, and I think you're going to enjoy seeing what our brothers and sisters are doing in other parts of the world and how this program works. The video is entitled Building Kingdom Halls Advances True Worship. So we hope you enjoy it for the next 30 minutes.
Victoria Falls in southern Africa is one of the largest sheets of falling water in the world. It is rightly regarded as a natural wonder. Not far from Victoria Falls in southern Zambia, a spiritual wonder is taking place. In Kolomo, a small congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses is building a place of worship. It is being built by a local all-volunteer workforce. But the project is mostly coordinated, financed, and arranged by their fellow worshipers from around the world. How did this come to be? And how are Jehovah's Witnesses meeting the need for places of worship in lands where the finances are limited and the needs are great? The fact that kingdom halls are needed has become increasingly evident. For example, in Eastern Europe, brothers attending meetings in drafty, poorly heated halls sometimes insulated themselves against the cold by putting hot water bottles inside their clothing.
And the brothers who were on the stage giving talks were wearing coats and hats. Their fingers would get so cold that it would be very difficult for them to turn pages in the Bible.
In the summer, it was very, very hot, sometimes impossible to cope with. And in the winter, it was very cold. Although it was heated a little, it was very cold.
What was difficult was the fact that there was not enough ventilation. Some sisters felt sick. Their blood pressure would go up. They had to go outside.
There wasn't room. Half of us were in the Kingdom Hall and half were out. That's how it was.
In Africa, some meeting locations had hardly any structure at all. If a structure did exist, it was often too poorly built to keep out the rain during a meeting.
The old Kingdom Hall was made only of planks. When rain started, water usually flooded the house. As a result, it became difficult to hear what the speaker said from the platform.
In spite of our efforts, termites always destroy the old building. Every year, rainstorms destroy the roof and gave us the extra work of repairing it.
Our former Kingdom Hall was made of planks, and this used to embarrass us.
Or in South America, the meeting places were often far too small for those attending. The Cono Norte congregation in Peru met in a garage for almost 4 years, crowding up to 110 people in for the memorial.
We had only one bathroom, and sometimes there was no water. Also, sometimes we would meet without lights because there was no electricity.
The hall is really too small. Each day it seems smaller. We're making the effort to cover and fix the roof because the rain is coming and we are going to get wet.
We used to have to put wood benches everywhere, in the bathrooms, in the garage. We could see only through a small window, so we could not benefit fully from the program.
In most cases, the local brothers have little funding available to do anything about these difficulties. But the need is made even more critical because the growth of Jehovah's Witnesses in these lands is more rapid in comparison to other parts of the world. In a large number of developing lands during the decade of the 1990s, the number of Jehovah's Witnesses increased by 83%. This is more than 4 times the growth in the rest of the world. Adding to this, the dissolution of the former Soviet Union has made it legally possible to have kingdom halls in 20 additional countries. All these factors combined to create a growing need in locations that were hard-pressed to meet the demand. In response, in 1997, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses gave direction to develop a construction program for countries in need of assistance. called Kingdom Hall Construction in Lands with Limited Resources, it was given the mandate to provide, where possible, an adequate place of worship for all of those interested in Bible education. The program divided the world into 5 regions of need. In each of these, a regional Kingdom Hall office was set up to coordinate and assist the design and construction unique to that region. Mexico directs the work for Central America and the Caribbean. Brazil for South America. Germany for Eastern Europe and Russia. South Africa for the African continent. And Australia for the Pacific Islands and Asia. In total, there are some 60 branch offices involved, affecting over 100 countries. Under this regional direction, each country's branch office then sets up local construction teams. When the new construction program began in 1999, the need for Kingdom Halls in these places was estimated in the thousands. From the outset, the architects and engineers knew that simplified designs and construction methods would be desirable for building many halls in a short time.
If they need engineering, we ask them to do that locally so that a local engineer is familiar with what's needed. Then it's quite important that they build with local materials. We don't want to import things that we don't have to into these countries.
Today, the Kingdom Halls have a simpler layout and architecture. With that, we ended up economizing. The truth is that sometimes the brothers spent a lot of time on the decorative details, also a lot of money. And without those details, it got simpler. We saved money, time, and the brothers' work.
The advantage that we have in simplifying the halls is speed, and that helps the brothers to maintain their hall easily without many things, because we use local materials which are not too difficult to find in our surroundings.
Each country in the program has a few basic types of Kingdom Halls from which to choose. The differences between the designs are mostly based on whether the hall will be in an urban or a rural setting. Buildings are simplified in a variety of ways. In some rural halls, skylights provide lighting for the almost exclusively daytime meetings. In Africa, breeze blocks are used instead of windows, cutting expense and maintenance. The local congregations can request a hall under the program, but they must meet certain requirements. In general, they need at least 30 members, along with at least one elder. Although the congregations are made up of those with little means, they are asked to commit at least a modest amount of their own money to the project.
They pass a resolution to make a monthly contribution back to the fund depending on their ability. So they are, over a long period of time, making a contribution to the fund, but simply wouldn't have enough money to build the building initially.
In rural Africa, obtaining land for a hall is often much easier than in urban areas.
First of all, they go to a headman of the village where that property is. Then they acquire a letter from the headman. Then they take that letter to the chief. Then the chief writes a letter and stamp it. That's enough for acquiring that property where to build a Kingdom Hall.
But you don't ever have to worry about losing that piece of ground, because everybody recognizes that he has the right to give you that piece of ground, and nobody will ever argue with it.
If their request is approved, the local congregation busies itself with making or gathering the necessary building materials. For a typical East African Kingdom Hall, it means mixing, molding, and baking approximately 35,000 bricks. The congregations gather the sand and break the stones used to make concrete. In East Africa, selecting a color for the Kingdom Hall is largely determined by the color of the soil that goes into the bricks. An outstanding example of preparation work was that of the Musunje Iwi congregation on Lake Malawi. All the materials had to be brought in by boat and carried by hand to the hilltop where the hall was to be built. After about 300 different trips, the 12 tons of building materials was moved more than 1,000 feet up the mountain. Around the world, once supplies are gathered, work on the foundation begins. Another big job for the local congregation is to provide food for all the workers. Construction servants appointed by the branch office arrive on site. These brothers oversee the project and also provide skills and tools needed for the build. Depending on the arrangement, from 3 to 6 Kingdom Hall construction servants will be assigned to a project. Generally, these, along with their wives, will live in the homes of members of the local congregation. The Kingdom Hall construction servants attend meetings and also preach in the local territory for the duration of the project. The local congregation and the construction team both benefit from this association.
We aren't just builders, we are friends and brothers. That is to say, being occupied with spiritual activities. We see beyond rocks and concrete. We understand that spirituality and a good relationship with the brothers are more important.
Along with the local congregation, we contribute by fulfilling assignments. In that way, the local congregation becomes our congregation. I usually say that visiting the construction groups is the aspect of the work that I enjoy the most, because the friends are always happy. It is hard work, under the hot sun, even rain at times. But they are always, always very happy. You can feel that they have Jehovah's Spirit.
In addition to Kingdom Hall construction servants, the branch office appoints spiritually qualified local volunteers to assist the congregation's workforce. The construction servants take the lead on site for the daily morning worship program. The consideration of a biblical text helps remind everyone that spiritual matters have priority. As the work unfolds, the servants give oversight to the local volunteers, making sure that the work is of good quality and is done safely. Because of this, a major part of their assignment is training. This training provides practical, long-lasting benefits for everyone.
I had no experience in pouring concrete. I didn't know how to lay blocks, how to put on a roof, or even how to take off a roof. I had no construction skills before I came.
One of the trades that I learned is how to make bricks. I didn't know anything about this before because I was a farmer. But I do have that skill now, and I can make bricks perfectly. Apart from that, I also know how to lay bricks and erect a structure. These are some of the things that I learned during the construction project, and now I'm very happy.
But even when they leave the program, they become self-reliant because the skills that they acquire, they use them in their lives to support themselves.
While the practical training benefits all, everyone realizes that spiritual blessings are more valuable than job skills. The gift of a caring brotherhood is without price.
It really is amazing to see. It's something that we just used to hear of, maybe in yearbooks, and sometimes when you deliver a talk, you talk to brothers about the worldwide brotherhood. They seem not to see it, but right now they are seeing it, they can feel it, see people from different parts of Zambia who speak different languages, but they come together for a same common goal. It really is a dream come true.
It is helping a lot. You see brothers and sisters coming from other places to help the congregation with love, with pleasure, and with joy. Making a house of worship to Jehovah God? Who would not like that? That is a pleasure for us.
It is truly wonderful to be able to see the joy, the thrill of the brothers who are at times meeting in such difficult places, not having enough seats, many times standing up, or sometimes it even rains inside the Kingdom Hall. And when they see the new hall, the joy, the thrill, people crying, for us, it feels like we also belong to that congregation. That is the greatest, one of the greatest joys.
Jehovah's Witnesses have a reputation for building halls quickly. In developed lands, witnesses can complete a hall with electricity, plumbing, and finishes in as little as 2 or 3 weekends. Speed is not the primary goal of this program, however. The main concerns are quality and affordability. Nevertheless, the program has greatly improved the speed of Kingdom Hall construction to meet the growing needs of the congregations.
Before the program, it took up to 8 months to finish a Kingdom Hall. Now with the structure that the organization has set up, we can complete a Kingdom Hall in 6 to 8 weeks. Now the construction is faster. We work only a few weeks, 2, 4 weeks, and we finish the Kingdom Hall. And the brothers are happy that in the space of just a few weeks, they can attend meetings in their own Kingdom Hall.
In villages, everyone knows that the Kingdom Hall is being built, and they ask us many questions, and it's nice to know that people are amazed by the construction. In service they ask us, "So, do you think you'll finish before winter comes?" But when we say to them that we will finish by the end of this month, they cannot believe it.
Take, for example, the Aroquias congregation in Ecuador. By means of time-lapse photography, you will see 7 weeks of work in just a few seconds. This made a great deal of hard work look relatively simple. In reality, all the projects involve examples of self-sacrifice and an eager willingness to help.
Then you get to feel happy, to feel enthused. The work is hard, that is true, but it is rewarding, because in about 25 days, we will be praising Jehovah in a new Kingdom Hall, a dignified place of worship to Him.
It's terrific, exciting, and a blessing at the same time, because looking at the program itself, it's like a Bible study. You find somebody, you teach that somebody, dedicate himself until he's baptized, and that is how I feel, starting from the foundation until we finish the project. It is such a blessing.
When the project is finally complete, the joy of the first meeting has arrived.
At this time, it is our pleasure to dedicate this Kingdom Hall to our happy God, Jehovah.
¿No creen ustedes que debemos expresar nuestro agradecimiento a Jehová, quien ha hecho posible que tengamos este nuevo salón del reino hermoso и bonito?
А сейчас, дорогие братья и сестры, мы со всей уверенностью можем сказать, этот прекрасный зал царства посвящен Иегове.
More than just a place of sufficient size and comfort, the new Kingdom Hall provides real benefits to the local congregation and its efforts to advance Bible education.
In certain congregations, when they invited interested ones to the meetings, given the places where they met before, these interested ones would not come. But immediately after the dedication, we see that these people, who are perhaps weak, begin to arrive, and in a few months only, the hall is full of these interested ones.
What makes us happy is that once it was done, these neighbors who were worried before told us that they were even grateful because it changed the look of the street. And today our Kingdom Hall is a point of reference. Where do you live? I live near the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, it's a big difference because this hall is spacious, cozy, and very comfortable in many respects. Many more people can be accommodated than in the old hall, and it's also wonderful that this is a witness for other people. We can invite them, and the people know where our Kingdom Hall is.
Just from watching, the neighbors have already requested 4 Bible studies.
There is increase now. Those who had 1 Bible study in the past have up to 6 now, and those who had 2 in the past conduct up to 7 now. Meeting attendance has increased greatly.
There are many benefits, but I'll mention only one. Many now join us for the meetings. There's been a great increase, even to the extent that 2 congregations have been formed.
The spirituality of the congregation is now better than ever. We note that many have been moved to enroll as auxiliary and regular pioneers, and meeting attendance has really increased.
Local observers have also taken an interest in the program. For example, at one build in Ecuador, a local teacher brought her elementary school class to tour the site. In other lands, non-witness construction experts have recognized the unique accomplishments of this program run entirely by volunteers.
So my opinion, as a specialist in the field of architecture, is very positive. I'm referring to the exterior look of the buildings, the quality of your construction work, the finishes, and the landscaping of the property. The quality of the work of Jehovah's Witnesses volunteers is excellent. Jehovah's Witnesses are obedient to the law. They're very honest and decent people when it comes to obeying laws that govern construction in Ukraine. A very organized group works at the construction site. This has a positive effect on us. We tell ourselves, go, look, and take a lesson from it.
As the program progresses, challenges continue to present themselves. For example, in Eastern Europe, legal complications for obtaining land are growing. It can take as long as 2 years to get approval for a hall that can be built in less than 2 months. Another challenge is maintenance. Throughout all 5 regions, the local brothers receive training to maintain the new halls provided. In addition, circuit overseers are being trained to monitor the condition of the halls. This is vital if the investment in the buildings is to be an enduring one. Where practical, innovations are being made. In Benin, there are a number of kingdom halls that can double as assembly halls. For normal use, the walls are fixed. But the walls can be released and moved out of the way. Revealing an open seating area for use at assemblies. This unique building program will continue into the future. The goal is to fulfill the original mandate, namely, that where possible, all of Jehovah's Witnesses will meet in a good quality Kingdom Hall. And how has the program progressed since it began in late 1999? As of June 1st, 2005, a total of 11,560 Kingdom Halls have been built, an average of 40 every week during that 5.5-year period. Throughout the 5 regions, the current estimate for future construction shows a need for more than 13,000 additional halls. To make this possible, it will call for continuing sacrifice by willing workers and those who generously donate funds. The results thus far suggest that the future for this unique program is a bright one.
In line with the scriptures, we are all having an equalizing because of the brothers that are making it possible for us to have Kingdom Hall that we can use for worship.
We are grateful to the Worldwide Brotherhood that we can use such a hall and study in such conditions where there's a sound system and appropriate heating and light to see.
We are all joyful. We have a hall that is worthy of praise to Jehovah and worthy of His name.
We were meeting under ban, in forests or behind closed doors. What Jehovah gave us I could only dream about or hope to see in the new system. But I see it now, our wonderful brotherhood, through which Jehovah gave us such a wonderful hall.
When I see our elderly brothers and sisters who have been waiting for a long time, who have worshipped Jehovah under mango or other trees or in warehouses, and today they have a Kingdom Hall where they praise Jehovah, that gives me joy.
Thank you very much for helping us to build the Kingdom Hall. From my whole soul, from my whole heart. What else can I say? It is a joy that we praise God in such a hall.
I feel close to all the international family of brothers from around the world, since it is thanks to the many brothers and sisters from other lands that we are able to have our lovely hall today.
We realize that on our own we wouldn't have been able to build such a beautiful hall. It is only due to our brothers. Besides many thanks to them and to our God Jehovah, there is nothing else we can say.
I would like to say many things, but I take the opportunity to express our sincere gratitude for all their contributions and to promise that we will use these wisely to praise and glorify Jehovah's name.
Well, Jehovah's love for His people is very evident in this program, is it not, brothers and sisters? A very impressive work indeed, I think we'll all agree, but even more impressive is the use to which these buildings are put. As an example of that, we think about the ark that was built in Noah's day, and it must have been very impressive if you think of the dimensions of it. We recently had a picture of it in our watchtower, and if you lived in that area, yeah, what an undertaking. But even more impressive was the use that it was put to. Don't you agree? Because all of us are happy to say that we had relatives that were smart enough to get on that thing, and it made for the preserving of the human family as well as so many varieties of animals that we see today. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 12, we see Jehovah commanding His people back then to congregate. And why? Deuteronomy 31, verse 12, friends. You notice He says, congregate the people, the men and the women and the little ones, and your alien resident who is within your gates, in order that they may listen, and in order that they may learn, as they must fear Jehovah your God, and take care to carry out all the words of this law. So God wanted his people to gather together, and all together as families. To listen, to learn, he says, and then to do, right? To carry out the things that are written in his law. So that's the purpose of our meeting together today, is it not? And just as it was back then, we find it refreshing to be with one another and to hear God's word. Now, James wrote that faith, if it doesn't have works, is dead in itself, which what he's saying is the way faith is, it produces works. And this was evident in at least three ways in this program that we just saw. First of all, the governing body saw the need and acted in behalf of our brothers and sisters in these countries. Secondly, there are these couples that have come from this country, and Denmark, and Sweden, and Germany, and lands around the world, and as I mentioned Tuesday night, left, no doubt, prosperous businesses and family, friends, and so forth, homes, and have spent years in these third world countries living with the friends under very, what we might consider primitive conditions, and eating the food that they're eating, preaching with them shoulder to shoulder, and building kingdom hall after kingdom hall after kingdom hall. But no doubt they found this to be a very encouraging experience. If we go to James 2, where James spoke about faith, notice what he further says in verse 22. James 2:22, friends. He's speaking about Abraham, and he says, "You behold that his faith worked along with his works, and," notice this, "by his works his faith was perfected." So Abraham's faith produced these works, but the works in turn had a positive effect on his faith. And no doubt that's true for these friends. Yes, they did make those sacrifices, but no doubt the privilege of being part of such a wonderful work, the friendships that they made, the experiences that they had, have enriched their lives in a way that never would have happened if they had not exercised their faith in this way. And then the third way that faith is manifest in this program has to do with us, because around the world multitudes have contributed and have contributed generously to contribute financially to enable this work to happen. And we do that here. In fact, we have, I think most of us know, and we're kind of sitting as a family tonight, three kinds of contribution boxes in our Kingdom Hall, right? Now, the first one is the where we contribute for the local congregation. And that's what keeps the lights on, that's what keeps it cool and warm as needed, that's what puts gasoline in the lawn mowers, that's, what pays our mortgage, etc., etc. And where is that contribution box, or those contribution boxes for the local congregation? Brother Liebeck.
Right out in the foyer.
In the foyer. And where in the foyer?
It's by the cloakroom.
Right. Okay, on the left by the cloakroom. Okay, very good, thanks. Now then the second is for the Society's worldwide work. And that's what supports Bethel homes and missionary work, the printing of literature, and so many other things. And where is that contribution box, Brother DeLuca? Okay. So I see one on either side there. Is it either of those? Okay, very good, thanks. So those are for the worldwide work. Then the third is the one we're talking about, which is for the Society's Kingdom Hall Fund, which is not just for Kingdom Halls in this country, but now it's beyond the branch. It's for the international Kingdom Hall work. And where is that box, Brother Gott?
Also by the coat room.
That's also by the coat room, okay. So there they are. Now, interestingly, there was a couple who were about to celebrate their 35th wedding anniversary. And they got talking, and they made a decision. They said this year, instead of going on a cruise or giving one another gifts, what we want to do is make a contribution to the Society's Kingdom Hall Fund to build one Kingdom Hall in another country. Now, it doesn't cost in those countries what it costs to build a Kingdom Hall in this country. And I know of at least one family in our circuit that heard about that, and they have done the same thing. And I knew of another family that was talking about it. So, but frankly, most of the Kingdom Halls are not going to be built by those large contributions. They're going to be built by the little contributions that we make. And you know, in the movie you saw that hand of a brother, and he was putting that little piece of paper, money, in the box. Do you remember that? And I don't know, but I think I speak with some certainty. That probably was a few pennies that piece of paper represented. And my point in saying that is this: we can make a contribution toward this that our brothers could never. In other words, they can't do this. This would never happen if they were left to their own devices. But we can make a contribution, and a nice contribution, and you know what? We don't have to skip a meal that week. Frankly, it won't really impact our life in any way, except we'll feel good and that we were able to do something to help our brothers there. So something to keep in mind. These new Kingdom Halls bolster the faith of so many. We receive encouragement at them. They are, in fact, the centers for the global preaching of the good news of the kingdom. And the governing body has asked that we thank you, brothers and sisters, for your fine works in supporting the Kingdom Hall projects locally and around the world. And of course, here on the island we have a local regional building committee. How many of you friends are involved in supporting these projects, the regional building committee? We want to thank you. We appreciate very, very much that good work, and we have benefited from it, certainly here in Manorville, and our brothers all around our circuit and beyond, and we appreciate that good work. You render a valuable service. And it's encouraging to see the congregations taking an active interest in the Kingdom Hall by maintaining it in a fine manner. Do you see how the friends were trained to keep their Kingdom Hall up? And you know, brothers and sisters, we were talking about this last night with the servants. When people drive by this Kingdom Hall, they ought to, by the condition that we keep it in, have some concept of what kind of people worship in this place and what kind of a God is worshipped here. This building should really witness all by itself. And that's by our pitching in, not being too big to help out. So that's a wonderful privilege that we have as well. Such care really brings praise to Jehovah in our community. So may we be all more determined to use our Kingdom Halls to enhance our faith and the faith of those who may listen to us. And we're happy to be able to share this lovely presentation with you this evening. We look forward to our opportunities for association and service tomorrow and for the remainder of the weekend. And friends, you are invited to join us, and we hope that you will make the opportunity to do so. We have a nice song to sing to conclude our meeting this evening. After the song, Brother Fasanello is going to represent us in prayer. The song is called Bless Our Meeting Together. It's based on Hebrews 10:24 and 25. And we invite you to stand. We can sing it together. Song 28, number 28 in the songbook, Bless Our Meeting